This week, we're going to be talking about let's look at the little slideshow that I made. Let's see how it looks. 5 things I wish someone told me before choosing this as a career. Number 1, plan ahead. We talked a lot last week about scheduling. I really, really, really want to double, triple, quadruple down on how important scheduling is. As you dip your toe into podcasts, you don't really, I think everyone kind of goes in pretty safely. Hey, doing a thing with my buddies and we're going to record it and release it. Why not? That's super easy. You might have it in a little more of a professional sense. Whoa, I just got a job at a podcast network. Hopefully, in a perfect world, those people are respectful of your time. And then as you explore other podcasts, maybe simultaneously working on multiple shows at the same time, or working your way up a specific show or multiple shows or at a network, it becomes more and more challenging to manage. If you aren't aggressive and protective of your own time and your time management, unfortunately, 2 things will happen. You'll get let go from the show because your time management, selfishly, it's going to reflect in a way where the host eventually will say, I don't think this person really wants to work with us. I think they got other things going on, and let's just let them do that other thing and we'll find someone a little better equipped. Or you will be so overwhelmed, and I've been guilty of this, that you have to leave a show because you can't manage your workload. For me, in the last year, I feel like the biggest change I've made at work was every Sunday, maybe not the biggest, but a change that had a big impact on me, was every Sunday I write out a highly detailed, very thorough, day-by-day to-do list for the next 7 days. The first part of that to-do list is just the essentials. What are the things I need to record each day of the week? Boom. There's like 1 or 2 bullet points each day. Sometimes, some days I don't have any recordings. Today I didn't have any recordings. There's no record this on today's schedule. I do have shows that come out 5 days a week. So there are guaranteed 5 bullet points for each day of the week to make sure the day before that show is edited. So to me, that was kind of, for the last several years, just kind of what the to-do list was like, make sure a show is recorded, make sure a show is edited. Now I'm critiquing myself. I think that is like solid B- producing. I'm only doing the essentials. At the end of the day, B- is probably being generous too. At the end of the day, I'm just making sure the show came out. I didn't do this all the time, by the way. I'm not saying I'm ranking my last decade as a B-, but it's very easy to go, the show is recorded, the show is edited. Great day, folks. Like, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's nothing to be like, hey, whatever. That's super important, and being consistent is super important. So that is my first wave of my scheduling. My second wave of scheduling is adding a little bit of flavor. On the bottom of my to-do list, I have like a monthly to-do list that has bigger goals that cannot be achieved in a day. These are kind of big picture things, show growth specific things for shows, ideas that aren't things I can just like knock out overnight. These are things that I try to figure out how I can incorporate, maybe not every day, but if it's like, I want to book someone big for next month. What that might entail is, because I work primarily in entertainment shows and comedy shows, I might add, in addition to my recordings and meetings and editing, on Tuesday, I want to reach out to this person's manager. And given that they're the manager of like a famous person, they're more than likely not going to respond to my bullshit. And then I'll put on Friday, follow up with manager, because more often than not, even if I'm getting a no, the follow-up works. And it is helpful to remind myself to follow up, because sometimes I might just entirely forget, oh, I sent this person an offer, and then I just move on. And then like a year later, I'm like, why didn't I ever like check in with that manager? Like, who knows? Most of the time, I'm pretty good about following up, but my point is, I have my daily to-do list that has my essentials. On the bottom of that to-do list, I have bigger, more challenging goals that I incorporate throughout the week, just little pieces throughout the week. I find that extremely helpful. That's that. So number one, plan ahead. It makes a huge difference and you will thank yourself in the future. Number two, set goals that you can control. Man, I've been guilty of this like up until months ago. It's very easy to just go and say, I think I should just get X amount of downloads for this, and the show should try to make X amount of revenue for that. And that is a very like one-to-one way to goal set. But the thing that I am reminded of is I can't control how many people listen to the shows I work on. Similarly, I can't control how much money the hosts make. However, I can control as much as I can in the pre-production, the production, and the post-production of the show that can definitely have a positive impact on both of those things. Those are way more specific and, like I put in here, more specific and more applicable goals that I have found to be a lot more helpful than just kind of generic. Frankly, I'm critiquing myself here again, not critiquing if other people do this, but just saying like, I want to try to get this many listens. Cool. Well, how are you going to do that? To me, those are the goals, like focusing more on getting a big guest. Okay, great. How do we do that? Who do we reach out to? Who do the hosts and I agree is a good get? Who do we think would be fun on the show? Having a list of people that I pitch, having the hosts say yes to this person, no to this person, and then going from there. So at the end of the day, if you're crushing it with production, really, I think that's like all you can ask for. Number three, trust your instincts. A lot of times when you're unsure, you got to trust your gut. Chances are you might overthink something and then make the wrong decision because you spent like 8 hours overanalyzing everything. But at the end of the day, if your heart, if your stomach, if your whatever is telling you, I don't know, man, take a step back. And I have found this to be extremely helpful as well. Regarding content, if you're not sure about what you're doing, I work in comedy. If there's like a joke that I'm on the fence about, that a host made or a guest made or that I made, the rule of thumb I've always had, the hosts have had, and I've always had on all of the shows I've worked on is if we're unsure about something, hey, is this okay to keep in? If we're unsure, just cut it. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of podcasting is it is not live. It's not radio. It's not a Twitch live stream. You have the ability to go back and edit it and, make yourself and the people you work for sound good. I'm really saying this because the worst feeling in the world is being unsure if something should be released and then waking up the next day and seeing the comments and then everyone validating you that, in fact, it should not have been released. That's regarding the content side of trust your instincts. And then also like the people side. This is like, you don't get to always, choose who you work with. I think a lot of people have podcasts outside of their job. And I think in those scenarios, you do get to choose the people that you do the show with. I think that's a very like natural and easy way of like, this is my best friend, or like, this is my coworker and we both love Game of Thrones and we both want to like recap it every week, or, whatever the similar interest is. I think naturally, hopefully, you already trust the person and you feel comfortable with them. If you work at a podcast network, or I guess, anywhere, if you're having like a recurring situation where a host is giving you a hard time, you have to trust your gut there. And at a certain point, like I was saying earlier, you have to be honest with yourself and trust yourself of like, I got to be honest with how I feel. Like, this is making my life way harder. And the longer you bury those things and keep it in, you'll probably explode over like the dumbest thing. So try to find, people that you trust and you feel comfortable being honest with and collaborating with. Similarly, I want people to be, not you guys in the chat, just kidding. But I want to work with people that are completely honest with me too. If I pitch an idea and a host is like, I'm not feeling it, I want them to tell me that. I don't want a host to like go through with something that I thought was fun that they didn't like, because why would they do a good job with it if they didn't like it? They'd probably would rather be doing something else. So I really try to go out of my way to make sure the host I work with and myself feel comfortable being completely honest with each other, because especially with a long show that, has no plans of ending, or like a long working relationship, you need that honesty. You need that sense of trust, and it makes a huge difference. It is extremely frustrating and completely unnecessarily challenging to work with people to be like, yeah, I'll produce your podcast, and then find out this person doesn't give a fuck what I think about. Don't take things personally. Let me tell you the backstory of this. Initially, this was called No One Cares. And it initially was my first bullet point. And as I practiced, rehearsing this that I'm doing right now, every time I got to No One Cares, I was like, that's not true. And it's so dark and sad. But as I was talking out loud and kind of figuring it out, I was like, I think what I mean here is not to take things personally. With my job, I spend a ton of time with super, super busy people who, more often than not, if I ask them a question, will not respond immediately or quickly. Sometimes they do. I talked a little bit about scheduling stuff last week, but people are busy with other things, whether it be their other job, that is their more full-time job, if it's their personal life, their relationship, their family, their friends, their other hobbies and interests. I think it can be easy to get ghosted, to have to send multiple follow-ups, and to go to bed and go like, what the fuck? Does that person hate me? That's super easy to do, and I did that so much. And it still happens, it's hard not to it's hard to take the emotion out of things sometimes. But constantly, my first few years, I would send the nicest email with the most simple question, and then just would never get a response, and followed up and followed up and followed up. I am having a thing this week where I've sent 4 or 5 follow-ups on a thing that is just it's so hard not to be like, what did I do? But the answer is nothing. I'm doing my job. And if I were to take things personally, I would be the saddest person ever, because I get denied requests all the time. I get no responses all the time. It really sucks spending a ton of time on an episode that you're extremely proud of and you're so excited to release it, right? And this happens so much to new podcasters and any podcaster, where you're so excited to finally release that thing, and you hit publish and you post it on your social media, and no one cares. See, I said it again. That's not true. There's no feedback, right? You're not getting likes or comments, even negative comments. It's at a certain point, you're kind of even a roast would have been better than nothing. It's tough. It's so hard to put your passion out there and a thing that you worked really hard on, and to not get any sort of feedback, at least hopefully some positive feedback, or people saying, just liking it or upvoting it or saying, can't wait to listen. Silence is brutal. But again, people got their own shit going on, right? Everyone's not signing up they didn't make an Instagram solely to get updates about when you're going to release a podcast. So you can't take a lack of feedback personally. And lastly, I have had multiple times where I have had the nice way I'm going to say it is mean things said to me. People are fucking dicks. I don't have to filter with you guys. People are assholes, and all people, listeners, hosts, guests, myself, coworkers, everyone can be a dick. You can ask a question, the wrong question at the wrong time, and someone, gets really upset with you. And it's really, again, how do you not take it personally? You just have to be more sympathetic to people. Or if some, dickhead on Reddit says something mean, again, it's so easy for me to say right now, don't take it personally, because if I post an episode tomorrow and someone says something mean, your brain doesn't immediately go, don't take it personally. Your brain goes, fuck you, and you get upset, which is fine. But there will be so many instances where you are presented with, the nice way I'm going to say it is, an opportunity to not take something personally, and you have to take that opportunity as much as you can. It will never be flawless. There will absolutely be situations where it just hits and it bums you out and you're upset. That's fine. That's totally okay. But this is a challenging job, and people are going to blow you off all the time. Can't take it personally. It's fine. You got to move on. Yeah, that's the more emotional one. And then the last one is pretty simple. Keep it brief. I do not mean short episodes are essential. I do not mean just your pod needs to be over-edited. One of my favorite shows that I work on right now is The Action Boys. And if you're not familiar with it, it's 3 extremely talented comedy guys and writers, improvisers, podcasters who do 2.5 to 3 hour long conversations about dissecting an 80s action movie, like a kind of throwback action movie. And I love it. I love the show so much. And they really do not keep it brief. And I think they would agree with me. Why they are an exception is because they are extremely entertaining, funny, captivating dudes. And they do what they do really well. And it's why their show is so successful. And it's super fun to listen to. When they asked if I wanted to work on it, I responded, I already listened to it, so why not? I already love the show. It was super easy. So there are exceptions. If you host a 2+ hour podcast, I'm not telling you cut it in half, because there are several examples of talented, long form, captivating pods. That being said, from my personal experience, I struggle sometimes all the time probably, with my attention span. I struggle with long movies. I struggle with long TV shows. I went to a concert last week and I struggle with a long concert. And the show was barely an hour. If I'm editing a show and I'm bored, I feel like it's safe to say the listeners are probably also bored too. So I try to do a good job of being considerate of that and saying, hey, I'm tuning out. I'm fully starting to tune out. At that point, I try to be good about how close are we to the end, because maybe we should start wrapping up. Or maybe this side tangent that's happening is happening a little too long and I'm losing focus. I think it's safe to say the listeners might be losing focus as well. Just leave with your audience wanting more and not feeling like burned out on the episode or the show. I like leaving on the high. So that's the 5 things I wish, I was told before choosing this as a career. These are things that I'm reminded of every day. And this last slide just made me laugh so much. It looks so sarcastic. I didn't write this. This was on the template. It just looks like, thanks a lot. It just looks very obnoxious, which is very funny to me. All right, gang, that's everything for today. Thanks so much to everyone who subscribed. I really appreciate it. Stick around. Next week's going to be kind of like level 2. Is going to be more for like in the weeds of podcasting. I think I'm going to be talking specifically about my pre-production, my recording, aka production process, and my post-production process. Have a good night, and I'll chat with everyone next week. Bye-bye.